So the December 2022 Community Day is coming up. It's that magical time of the year where you can evolve old Community Day attacks onto your Pokemon. So it's another opportunity so you don't have to spend those Elite TMs. So of course, I gotta make a tier list of the Pokemon available to evolve to let you guys know what your priorities are for the Community Day. So I got, 5 ratings here. We got S, must have, A, should have, B, okay enough, C, could be buffed in the future, and then D, just bad. If you're a serious PvP-minded person, then basically everything is something that could be good in the future, right? Something that could get buffed, so you're going to want to evolve all of them. But for the sake of fun and helping people know what the priorities are, I guess in general, if you're more casual, I got this tier list here. So let's go through it. So starting out, we got Glaceon, and there's no particular order to this. It's just how Tier List Maker uploaded them. So Glaceon in front, right? It's getting Water Pulse or Aqua Pulse. I don't remember the exact name, but it's a bad move. Glaceon could get buffed though. The move could get buffed in the future. Glaceon historically has had some play in the Master League meta with the Icy Wind and the Ice Shard, so it's not terrible. It's just, Water Pulse is bad. If Water Pulse became good in the future, then it'd be like a Mamoswine almost with a debuffing opportunity. And then if Water Pulse is good, then it would have that water coverage instead of the ground coverage. The ground coverage is generally better, but who knows what this future buffed Aqua Pulse could look like. So I'm going to give it C tier. Then we got Draco Meteor Dragonite. It's on this list despite not being one of the past 2 new Community Day Pokemon because it was part of the remix. So I guess remix Pokemon are officially included in on the action here, but it's bad. Like in the past, Draco Meteor was like, yeah, you could maybe have this for raids or for PvP. It's a big nuke attack, but now it's got superpower. So it's like there's no real place for Draco Meteor in, PvP. And then when it comes to the raid side of things, like, just use Outrage. Like, maybe you could do better with the Draco Meteor Outrage combo, but it's bad. Don't worry about it. Next up, we got Jumpluff. And I'm going to give Jumpluff a must-have rating. It's not the biggest meta Pokemon on the block, but Fairy Wind has done a lot for it. I do plan on updating the Jumpluff PvP IV Deep Dive with Fairy Wind numbers, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have to actually do that. But in the December Community Day Catch Guide that I'm doing for Game Press, I will include the Fairy Wind Jumpluff numbers for you guys. The basic idea is super high defense, so like either the rank 1 or even greater defense than that because you're trying to avoid a breakpoint from Altaria. Big thing with Fairy Wind Jumpluff is that it can go toe-to-toe with Altaria, among other things. So yeah, but big thing here is acrobatics. It's the Community Day move, so you want to make sure you don't want to miss out on it. And if you do have any Shadow Jumpluffs you could possibly evolve, well, that would be a time to do it as well. Then next up, we got Swampert. Swampert's obviously a must-have. Like, do I have to explain this to you? If you want some IVs on Swampert, I never did do a Swampert PvP IV deep dive, like, officially, but I got this funny infographic here, which covers basically everything you need to know about it. Link in the description to that infographic on Reddit as well, so you can ogle it more thoroughly. But yeah, basically, in general, it wants a lot of bulk, but having that defense weight can do a lot more for it in more matchups. Same with the Shadow as well. And then it also has charge move priority considerations as well. So Swampert's a little bit dynamic, but you don't have to think too hard about it. Chances are if you already have a Swampert, you already got a good one. Then next up we got Altaria with the Moonblast. Obviously a must-have. Like, do I have to explain this anymore to you? I recently did the Altaria PvP IV deep dive as well. Link up above and description to that so you can check out the better IVs. The rank 1's great and all, right? But there are some serious attack, defense, and HP considerations for Altaria to manage other matchups better, namely Trevenant. That's one of the bigger ones, but there are also IV considerations for the Mirror matchup and for Wishcash as well, which could be very helpful in the Hoenn Cup at the end of the season here. Like if you're a rank 1er, you may even want to take a look at that guide because even the Goddess Enhoff, at Peoria, got second place, has the rank 1 Altaria, chose to use an attack-weighted Altaria just to manage Trevenant that much better. So definitely worth checking out. But in general, Moonblast, very important for Altaria to have. It's not the end-all be-all, but it is the better attack. Then next up, we have Wallrain. Even though Wallrain did get nerfed with the Icicle Spear nerf, I'm still going to say it's a must-have because it's a very potent, powerful threat. in the Great League meta still. It's not overpowered, but it is still a really reliable Ice-type Pokemon. It's got big Earthquake on top of it. So even though it can't, like, hard counter Trevenant anymore because it's a little bit too slow for that, it's still a very imposing Pokemon. I also updated the Wallrain PvP IV Deep Dive recently. Link in the description to that if you want to check out the new Wallrain numbers. Basically updated things because, you know, Icicle Spear comes a little bit later now, so I looked into how that changes its matchups, and for a good amount of them, Wallrain basically wants like 2 more HP than it wanted before. So if you want to get all intricate with Wallrain, that information is provided for you there. I'm also working on Shadow Walrein information, and I'm probably going to update the guide either later tonight or tomorrow to reflect Shadow information, which I didn't have previously. When it comes to Shadow Walrein, I think Shadow Walrein is better than the normal Wallrain for Great League at least, because Shadow Walrein does have the opportunity to hard counter Trevenant. It can full farm it down with a breakpoint even, so that's some pretty good information to be aware of if you are looking at evolving a new or quote-unquote better, you know, Shadow Walrein. So good information to check out there. Link in the description, of course. Then we got good old Staraptor. I think it could be buffed. Gust is a bad attack, but Gust is like objectively bad, right? So Staraptor is an okay Pokemon using Wing Attack. Gust, bad move. Gust could get buffed in the future, and when it comes to Glass Cannon, like nuke Pokemon like Staraptor, things can be very temperamental as far as it wanting like an energy move or a damage move. So if Gust got buffed in the future and the damage and energy gains were enough where it could do some matchups more consistently or something like that, I could see the scales maybe tipping in favor of Gust. As Gust is right now though, it's super bad. You basically don't want to use it, but it could get buffed. So it's worth, you know, maybe evolving a Gust one, just in case, you know. But not a great move. Then we got this guy, Manectric. I'm going to say it's okay enough. It pops up in cups often enough with the Psychic Fangs there, where I think it's worthwhile to have, right? But it's definitely not a big priority. Even if Electric type moves get buffed in the future, I don't think things are going to change that wildly for it, but it's an okay move. Then we got Roserade. And I'm going to put it in the should have category because there was a time where like Roserade was everywhere and Roserade was like pretty freaking good as like the Weather Ball Fire. That's one of the community attacks. The other one's Bullet Seed. Bullet Seed's not as good, but like the Poison Jab with the Leaf Storm with the Weather Ball was pretty potent. It's kind of fallen off though over the year. Basically like Wallrain came out and this thing disappeared. I think like Zap Cannon Registeel also happened sometime around that time period, and then that also kind of hampered this thing a bit because it's pretty fragile and Registeel's annoying to deal with. But I think it could have a reprise, maybe. So I'm going to put it in the should have. It's a little bit more dynamic than this guy. Then we got Garchomp, Earth Power, must have. Need I explain any more? It's not the best move all the time for Garchomp, but come on, right? Then we got Sandslash, and I'm going to put Sandslash in the should have. This might be a little bit controversial. This whole tier list is impression based, so feel free to disagree with me, right? But this thing's really good. Dark ground type coverage is relatively like unresisted, and it's really fast, right? So getting that Night Slash is pretty important for it. And I think Kanto Sandslash here could be really good in the Kanto Cup. It's just we haven't had a Kanto Cup ever since it got the move. So I don't know. It's not the best Pokemon on the block, but I think it's one that's worth having. I also have a Sandslash and a Alolan Sandslash PvP IV Deep Dive. Link in the description to that so you can check it out. There are some breakpoints. It's mostly charge move priority though, because this falls into the same attack range as like, you know, Swampert, Frostlass, Venusaur, you know, that kind of range. So well worth to be aware of the IVs on this thing as well. Then we got Dusknoir. I'm going to put it in the could be buffed. It has Shadow Ball, so that's like one big piece of the actually being a good ghost type puzzle. Now it just has to work on the rest, right? So it could happen. Even if it does happen, I don't think it'll be that good, but who knows? This is the McMaybe future, so it could be worth having a good one on hand, just in case. Then we got Serperior. I'm going to say Serperior is okay enough. I'm never really impressed by it. I know a lot of people really like the Leaf Tornado and its debuff opportunity, and the debuff opportunity can be really clutch when it happens. And I've used it in cups myself, you know, effectively too. But it's always kind of a temperamental meme, and I always feel like there's usually better grass types that you could be picking over it, but it still has its own unique kind of seat at the table. So I'm going to give it an okay enough. Then we have this guy, Emboar. Yeah, Emboar could get buffed. And like everything got double kick, right? Everything got double kick. Friggin' Incineroar got double kick. Emboar, though, didn't. Like, what gives, right? Emboar has Rock Slide. Emboar has Blast Burn, right? It could really use a good fast move. And if it does get a good fast move, it could be good. Then we got Samurott. And, you know, I'd normally put this in the could be buff category, but Stone Collection showed us at the world stage that Samurott has respect, so I'm going to put it in the okay enough category. I think it would be a lot better with a buff, but it's got respect. It's got respect. Then we got Gigalith. Gigalith is bad. Bad. Stop that, Gigalith. Irredeemable in my eyes. Then we got Chandelure. Chandelure, bad. Polterize, super bad. Why did they do that? I don't know. They just wanted to give a bad move. Then we got this guy. I'm going to put it in okay enough. This tier list is PvP focused, and Brutal Swing Hydreigon isn't that good in PvP, but it is good in raids, so it's got enough respect where I'll put it in the okay enough category. I don't think this thing will ever really shine in PvP though, but it's got respect for the raid side, so I'm going to say it's okay enough. Then we got Talonflame. Talonflame's kind of fallen off the map a little bit, but I'm going to still put it in the S tier category. Talonflame is really good sweeper, behind a shield at the end game. Like, stuff can't stop Talonflame. Talonflame's been one of the top threats in the Ultra League as well for some time. I think with the wing attack buff, Charizard is arguably a bit better in some circumstances, but I think Talonflame has proven itself time and time again, where if you don't have a really good one already, then you probably really want to have one. And I don't have a deep dive on this thing yet, or maybe ever, but the main recommendation is going to be going for like maximum bulk, because there aren't any significant attack breakpoints for its fast move because it's so slow, and being able to reach that charge move, survive to get that next charge move, is kind of a huge deal for it. So I'd say try to go for the highest bulk weighted one that you can if you don't have a good bulk weighted one already. Then we got Beware. Gosh, what a sad Pokemon. I'm going to put it in could be buffed because Beware's already got like a lot of respect, right? And Drain Punch is bad. That's the community attack. But Drain Punch is like, it's very like precise, right? If it got buffed enough in the right way, then it could be the move of choice for Beware. Right now, Beware is not that great. And when you do use Beware, you don't want to use Drain Punch. But if Drain Punch would get buffed, and I think Drain Punch should get buffed, then if it gets buffed in the right way, well then Beware with Drain Punch could be the better idea. So I'm going to put it in C tier instead of D tier. Then next up we have Obstagoon with Obstruct, which is kind of a controversial move because it's higher energy cost than Night Slash is, right? It's a debuffing move, and for you to bait out a shield, you have to charge up a little bit extra, right? So it kind of gives it a little bit of a tell. You're delaying your throw, right? And then on top of that, a lot of people generally don't shield the first move from Obstagoon because it's usually Night Slash. Night Slash could buff your attack, which means that they'd want to like shield your subsequent charge moves. So it's just kind of awkward. And then Cross Chop gives it really good neutral coverage. So usually, you know, dealing damage or possibly dealing damage is better than dealing very little damage and debuffing the opponent. So it's just such a awkward attack. I'm going to say it's okay enough because it does have some utility, and I do hear some people do use it occasionally effectively, but definitely not the bread and butter charge move for Obstagoon. Also, if you haven't checked out my Obstagoon PvP IV deep dive yet, link up above and the description to that one. There are some crazy goofy attack weights, and I know they're like the attack weights that get people all hot and bothered. They get all nervous, but Dunebug and Rise to Occasion used the crazy high goofy attack weighted Obstagoon at the Milwaukee Regional and got first and second place at that regional. So I think there's some credit to that. There's also some credit to the bulk weighted ones too though. How Stark did use, I believe he used the rank 1, or he used like a very high stat product Obstagoon to take his regional. So I think both flavors of Obstagoon, you know, have value. If you're not aware of the argument though, we'll check out the deep dive. Then next up we got the other Sand Slash, and I'm going to put it in the should have as well. It's definitely got a lot more clout than the other Sand Slash does. I mean, Shadowclaw, obviously super good. Gives it really powerful like neutral coverage and chunking capabilities. And if we ever do get the Kanto Cup again, it could be a really big deal for it. But even then, I don't think this is necessarily a bread and butter Pokemon. Just a really, really good one that has proven itself. It's a good attack. You want to have the Shadowclaw. Then we got Ursaluna. Man. Could be buffed. They could give it Shadowclaw at any point in time. And everybody would cheer. They'll clap. Yay, Niantic, they finally listened. They gave it Shadowclaw. You know, whatever. They should have given it Shadowclaw right away. And then even then, High Horsepower is like, it's a good attack, but it's not that good of an attack. It's so awkward. Like, the whole Ursaluna situation is just weird. But it's worth having. Should it get buffed in the future? For sure. Then we got Payback Machamp. I'm going to say you should have one. Some people might say it's okay enough, but I've had some good personal experience climbing the leaderboard. Actually, I got front page on the leaderboard one season off of Payback Shadow Machamp because it's such a goofy move. And in the Great League in particular, a lot of people don't expect it because what insane person would run Payback on Shadow Machamp of all things in the Great League, right? But definitely well worth having, and it does get a lot more usage in the Ultra League as well because we got Big Giratina up there. So yeah, if you're sleeping on Payback Machamp, definitely worth having both a normal and a Shadow for both leagues, and then also having Machamps with the Rock Slides as well because, yeah. And then I think for the Ultra League, I do have a Shadow Machamp PvP IV Deep Dive. It is pretty old, but a lot of the stuff is CMP based for the Ultra League, so it's still worth checking out. I'll have that linked in the description for you guys if you want to check it out. Then we got this guy with Rollout, and I'm going to put it in could be buffed. I want to put it in bad because they nerfed it, and it's such a bad move now. Volt Switch and Rock Throw or Smackdown, whatever it has, are going to be better options. They could buff Rollout back to what it was in the future, though, and when that happens, then, you know, Rollout might be the better option between the other fast move options it has, so I'm going to put it in could be buffed. Then we got Vaporeon. I think in the future I said it could get buffed, but we kind of saw it play out in a way because Scald did get buffed, and it's still pretty bad. Aqua Tail is faster, and then if you're going to charge up for a bigger move, it's probably not going to be for Scald, so it's bad. Flareon, also kind of bad. I put it in the to be maybe possibly buffed category last year. Man, slipping on my words. But after thinking about it a little bit more, even if Flareon and fire types in general do get buffed, I don't think Flareon will become like meta overnight. I think there's a lot of other fire type Pokemon that would just, you know, replace it, outdo it. So I'm going to put it in the bad category. Then same kind of deal with Espeon here. I think in the past I said, hey, if it gets Psychic Fangs, maybe it could be interesting with the Shadow Ball. It has Psychic Fangs now, and it's still bad, so yeah, I'd say Espeon's bad. Then we got Psychic Umbreon. I'm going to put it in the should have category because while Psychic isn't the preferred charge move, there have been cups, plenty of cups, where Psychic will surprise you and just like delete your Pokemon. For example, what was it? Willpower Cup, right? I used a lot of Toxicroak there, and it was always a guessing game. Like, I'd never shield the Umbreon because there's always a really good possibility it didn't have Psychic, but the few times it did have Psychic, like, I totally lost, right? It was so sad. So I think Psychic has enough clout. For the Ultra League, I really don't see Psychic Umbreon ever happening, so don't worry about getting another hundo for that. But for the Great League, I think you should have a Psychic Umbreon. Last Resort is better once again, but Psychic does have some respect in cup formats. Then we got Sylveon. I want to put it in should have because Charm got nerfed, but it has historically been the best Charmer in the Ultra League. Psyshock is necessary for that because it's the earlier charge move. So I'm going to keep it in the must-have category. You know, it's early GBL season. I don't think we've had the Ultra League rotation yet. So we don't know exactly how bad the Charm nerf has been for it. But I think tentatively, yeah, putting it here. Also, I don't know if we're getting a friendship bonus like we have in the past for Sylveon. So you might want to start working on friendship hearts for Sylveon. And then before I forget, this thing also has some clout in the Master League too. And I don't know how much it's been blighted by the Charm nerf once again. So if you already have like your Hundo Umbreon all set to go, you got your Hundo Glaceon already set to go maybe, but you don't have the Hundo Sylveon yet, well then that could be worth checking out. Then next up we got Venusaur, and obviously must have. Frenzy Plant, really good. Dancing Rob, reigning world champion, used the Shadow Venusaur in his battles there, so like who's questioning this, right? I also do have a Venusaur PvP IV deep dive up with Shadow Venusaur information as well. Link in the description to that if you want to check it out. Then we got Jolteon, bad, and then this guy, bad, Leafeon. Yeah, it's not good. So these are my impressions for the December Community Day Pokemon, the ones you want to prioritize and the ones that you might want to sleep on, right? If you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description.